Welcome to the Pixelberry Choices podcast. We're going to be talking about a blog post by Choices that Choices released recently. It's about the representation. Around last year, Choices talked about it around that time when the protests were going on, police brutality was going on, and Choices said not to rush something just because of the trend driven, doing something that is trend driven or that is just emotion driven, but to bring long term changes to the choices and to make changes in their platform too because of that. And I would say that was a great initiative by choices, and that's a great start, and that's the right thing to do because you don't want to just say just you know just go with the wave and then forget after some time, but being influenced by that, you make long-term changes in your platform. That's the best thing anyone can do, and I give definitely kudos to choices for that. And they talk about it that last June, after realizing that we were not doing enough to represent Black, Latinx, and other cultures fairly in our stories, we pledged to do better. We did not design our plan for just short term solutions, but instead to make sustainable changes to how we work and think as a studio. At the 1 year anniversary of our pledge, I would like to review how Pixelberry has been trying to achieve these commitments. Below, we have listed out each pledge we made last year, followed by an update on its progress. And here I want to just mention this, that it's just not about the representing the diversity in race, that Black, Latino, Asians, or Caucasian, but it's also about the sex, that male, female, and other genders. So that's also the diversity in the gender customizable love interest, gender customizable main character. So in terms of that, and they say changes in choices, that commitment to diversity of love interests. We have already been moving towards having love interests have customizable skin tones. We will continue to do this with some stories while also having some characters with clear ethnic identities. At the same time, when we have multiple love interests of different ethnicities, we're aiming for those love interests to have equal game time. Now, equal game time, that's the promise they made, but I think still with like Aslin and Gabe, well, it's in terms of Gabe is race customizable, but still in terms of sex, it's still not, I would say, well, equal game time or same importance. They said while we tried to scramble to make fixes, a few books that were outlined prior to June 2020 still had the legacy of unequal representation. Newer books have worked to improve this, and future 2021 releases will continue to build upon these improvements. So perhaps those books, Laws of Attraction, or some other books like Foreign Affairs, they were already, designed or brainstormed before this incident of June 2020. So that's why there were some, unequal representation, for instance, with Gabe and Aslin, though it's becoming equal now from chapter 8 or 9, but in future books that will be released later this year will be more diverse and will be more equal in terms of the love interest screen time and game time. So that's a good thing. Love interests that would have once been white males are now customizable by race and often gender. Going toward forward, we will continue to push on this. So they'll be focusing on both sex and race. So gender and race both are going to be customizable, and that's the good news. Just like Slow Burn, you have two love interests. One is race customizable, gender customizable. The other one is gender customizable, offering both more customizable love interests in some books and a variety of love interests who are people of color and equally represented in terms of screen time and number of premium scenes in others. More authentic and diverse hairstyles of color, so they're also working on that. Authentic and diverse hairstyles, stronger representative writing. We will be engaging in professional training on historical and current racism for our writers to ensure More of them have a better understanding and more context for views of diverse characters and choices. We will also create a program that gives more authority to people of color in the studio to advise writers and artists and more authentic portrayals in both writing and art of black, brown, and minority characters. That's true. Because, it's really, if you are not, so it's always good to give the people to represent there, because I'm not saying it can't be done the other way around, but it's always have two different people on board. Now, they say two of our writing leaders have taken a workshop by the Racial Equality Institute. We are planning a studio wide workshop together. The intent of this workshop is to help everyone in the studio better understand the historical context that led to systemic racism. And they go on and on about that, and they give a list of more diverse book covers. For instance, Open Heart, The Royal Heir, My Two First Loves, Rising Tides, Baby Bump 2, Queen Bee, Foreign Affairs, Slow Burn, Mismatch, Hard Couture, The Unexpected Heiress, Laws of Attraction. This is an initiative we started in January of this year. As a result, the number of Black, Latinx, Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, mixed, and other characters on new book covers increased from 35% of characters in 2019 to 60% characters in the first half of 2020. However, the number of black characters is still not high enough this year. More are already scheduled for books later this year. We will make sure that black characters are well represented on our covers in the future. So, like I said, most of the books we have gotten so far this year were already planned before the incident of June or January this year. But starting from the book that later this year in 2022, perhaps the books that will be releasing later this year will have more diversity in terms of race customizable love interests, race customizable, other characters, and gender customizable love interests also, and gender customizable main character most importantly. And they also say people of color led stories, emphasis on hiring more diverse writers. Now, changes at PIXELBERRY source more black, Latinx, and female candidates for position at PIXELBERRY. They talk about that. They give hashtag Teen Writers Project, Tequila, Black Girls Code, Black Writers Collective, and then they talk about a donation and the Black Writers Collective and Teen Writers Project and other things. And then at last, in summary, they say, I believe Pixelberry has more progress in meeting our commitments to make sure our stories better represent the world we live in. We have made changes to how we tell our stories and to the characters we present. More importantly, we have changed how we do things. We have partnered with Open and made donations to smaller nonprofits to grow important communities of black writers and communities of underrepresented young writers. We aren't done yet, and we know there is more hard work ahead of us. We are committed to continuing to improve representation in our stories and in our studio. Humbled and optimistic Oliver on behalf of our Pixelberry team. Now, I just want to, in short, what I can say is basically this is a summary of the whole blog post. Last year, June, they started a pledge to represent more minority characters and choices, black people, Latino people, Asian people, and from people from other ethnicity. So different love interests like Ahmed in Passport to Romance, and then other characters like Ajay in High School Story, and other Latino characters, black characters, Asian characters, Aiden, Chihahu, I think, from High School Story again, the original trilogy, and other characters, even Aslin Tanaka. So, different race, different ethnicity, different geographic, where they come from. So, more diversity to include that in choices in terms of race and also in terms of gender. So, they started this pledge back in June, but they already had had progress with a lot of stories that has been released this year so far. So you may not see equal game time for different race and different genders so far, but for the books releasing later this year, you will see, because the books that have already been released were already almost planned before this June incident last year, the pledge they made last year. So that's why there is not much diversity. But the new books that are coming out later this year, they have completely planned after June, and they have made sure that those books are equally diverse, and they feature equal game time to all the races, all the genders. So more gender customizable, race customizable, main characters, love interests, characters, side characters, story, the history of racism, all those things, including not in just a way to just gain some attention because it's trending right now on Twitter. That's not choices are doing, but they're going the right way. They're just representing in the right way to implement long-term changes to affect the readers to create a better society. I like the idea from choices, and I hope more gender customizable, race customizable main characters and love interests and characters, and the story plot also, not just these, but the story plots. They say there's some historic context, the systemic racism and the minority condition, and some other places they'll be mentioned in some light context. I would be all for it. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this. That's all from today, from me today. See you in the next video. Peace out.